Hi everyone, my name's Emily and I'm here today from Skills Ontario for a family cooking show. For those of you who may not know, Skills Ontario is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to promoting the skilled trades and technologies to youth across the province. Today with our fall-themed family meal, we're actually going to be highlighting the culinary trade. And I'm going to be joined by 3 chefs today. But before we start cooking, I do want to say that as we gather, we are reminded that Bingamons is located on land that is traditional home of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabeg, and Neutral people. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connections to this place. We also recognize the contributions Indigenous people have made in shaping and strengthening this community. Thank you. So now I want to introduce my chefs. So joining me today, we have Chef Audrey, who is 13. We have Chef Noah, who is also 13. And Kinza, who is 12. And today they're going to be taking us through a full fall-themed meal. So first we're going to start with Noah, who's going to be cooking our appetizer.
Yeah.
So we'll throw it to Noah here, and tell us what you're making, Noah.
So today I'll be making a brie bread bowl with a cranberry compote and some rosemary croutons. So to start off, I'll actually start it off with Audrey, who's going to be helping me with the cranberry compote. So what she's going to need to make it is 2 cups of cranberries. I'm using frozen today because we couldn't have them available since they're not in season. But frozen cranberries that are thawed out are perfectly fine. I also have 1.5 cups of orange juice, 1.5 cups of sugar, some cinnamon sticks, and some orange peel.
So just to ask Noah, so ideally we would have fresh cranberries,
Yeah.
but today we couldn't get them, so we're using frozen, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine.
What if you only had canned cranberries?
Canned cranberries, any form of cranberries are fine, but if you're, fresh cranberries are obviously best because fresh is always the best for anything. But frozen cranberries are fine if that's all you have available to you now. And also, this recipe, it's using cranberries because it really goes well with the fall theme, but you can totally use any kind of compote that you want. You can use apricot, anything works.
Okay, that's good to know. So you can switch up your cranberries and
Yeah.
you'll just get a different flavor. So Audrey's going to be making that. And what's really cool about this cranberry compote is we're actually going to be using it in a few different parts of our meal today.
Yeah.
So that's what Audrey will be doing. And what's Kinza going to be doing for us right now?
So Kinza, she's going to be helping me by starting off our croutons. So I'm going to pass this over to her. And what she's going to need to do is, so just cut them into about 1-inch cubes, kind of big because they need to be on the skewers of the rosemary. So I need about 8 to 10, so yeah, I think you can handle that.
Sounds
good.
I think Kinza can handle
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah. And while that's happening, I'll start with the main part, which is the bread.
Perfect.
So first, I'm going to be cutting off the top just a little bit, but just enough so it's deep but not too deep.
So you're creating a bowl for us.
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of the vessel for the melted brie. So it's kind of the dip, and it'll just be perfect.
So it's a vessel you can eat as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's meant for.
While our chefs are doing this, I also want to have a little shout out to everyone who's watching us at home. You actually have a chance to win some prizes today. So if you tweet at us or if you Instagram us at Skills Ontario and use the hashtag Skills Cooking Show, you will be automatically entered to win some prizes. I will be repeating that a few times, but just so you know, those of you watching at home, you do have a chance to win prizes if you're cooking along with us. So post some pictures of yourself cooking at at our accounts at Skills Ontario, either on Twitter or Instagram.
So now I've basically just used my brie as a stencil for the inside that I'm cutting out. So this is going to be where the brie is in. So I just cut a little bit outside of the shape of the brie, and yeah. Oh, there's a little bit of a hole. That's fine.
So if your brie was bigger, you would just cut a
Yeah.
bigger hole. If it's smaller, you might cut a smaller hole. So that's really good to know. That's a really good tip to just use your brie as an actual template.
Yeah, so you can use, right now I'm using these kind of smaller ones. I'm using 2 of them, so it has enough brie in the dip. But you can totally use one big large one and then use that as your stencil too. So now I just cut that out, and that's it for the bread. But you can definitely save this and cut it up like Kinza's doing right now and make your own croutons out of something like this. So you want to save that. Don't throw it out. And now I'm going to be cutting off the rind from the brie because the rind, you can totally, it is edible, but I prefer to have it off because it just helps the cheese to melt a bit better. So I'm just gonna cut off the top and the sides are around it. Yeah.
And you definitely want to be careful when you're using a knife
Yeah.
at home. Ideally, you'd have an adult present with you to do this part. But if you're an expert like Noah, then you're totally great on your own.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be all melted anyways. So just cut enough chunks. But you want to save as much cheese as possible because that's what you're going to be eating. So you take your first one, and then I'll just do the same with the second one.
Noah, do you think these are
Yeah, I
good
think
sizes?
so. I think that should be good because they'll need to be skewered on, so it'll be good. And we can actually get that started right now. So I'll have 2 skewers for this, and what I'm gonna do is take off all of this rosemary, and you want to go downwards from where they're pointing up, so you get them as easy as possible, and save this for because we're gonna be using some of this later on too. So you want to save that. And right now, all we need to do is just skewer them on like that, like a shish kebab. And you want to leave this little tuft on there just because it looks nice for decoration. So if you can do that for the next 2, I'll
Sure.
pass you this one too.
Thank you.
That's good. And then about 3 to 4 on each.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want to come check out the cranberry sauce?
Yeah. Okay, so that looks good. So it just needs to cook a bit more, and then once it starts cooking a bit more, and then you'll be able to smash it, and then it'll start forming. So that looks good so far. So now I'll get back to this brie.
Cinnamony.
Yeah.
It does smell really nice in
Yeah.
here. It smells like fall
It's
already.
my favorite. I love it so much. Oh. And it's, yeah, like I said, it can be as rough a chop as you want. It's totally fine. If you have some leftover rind on there, it's perfectly fine. It won't change the flavor at all. Okay, so now that I have that all chopped up, I'll get rid of this rind. And now we're going to just oil up the edges of the bread just a bit, just so it has a really nice flavor and it really gets really crispy on the top. So you can really drench it. It doesn't matter at all. I prefer to use a lot of oil on top. It really helps bring out the flavor, and I just think it really works well with the dish. So now
We overflowed a little
we're
bit.
going to cut up the edges. So this will be something that you can dip into. So you can take the pieces of bread off and dip it into
have
the
a
cheese.
cloth?
Like
Oh, wait, do you have one?
a party dish, kind of, yeah. So you can do them about 1 inch thick because you don't want them too thick, but you also don't want them too thin so that you're not really getting any of the bread at all. So you can also use this bread. You can use the bread from the sides to dip, or you can use those croutons, which will add a nice crunch to it. So I'm just going to go ahead, chop this up. And don't chop all the way down because you're going to want it to stay intact.
So if you do cut all the way down, your
It's-
bowl will fall apart.
Yeah, because you want to make sure that the cheese doesn't seep through, it would be okay, but you just don't want it going all over the place. You want it to be in your bowl. So now that's done, and that's good. We're
We're
gonna
carry
go,
here. We can carry it over
Yeah.
on the cutting board right to
Yeah,
the oven.
actually, yeah.
There we go, like this. So we're gonna put it in our small oven today. But if you're doing this at home, you definitely want to be using a cookie sheet.
Yeah.
But we're gonna put it directly in our oven just for today with the type of oven that we're using.
Yep.
And can I ask too, Kinza, so you put your croutons on rosemary. Is that just for taste?
Noah, let's.
Or is it
It's
for
so the rosemary, it really helps flavor the inside of the bread too because of all of the oils from the actual sprigs of rosemary that are inside it, and also it just looks really good with the little tuft on the end for
So for
when you're serving it.
presentation.
Presentation
Perfect.
and flavor. It's really good.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, you're getting flavor all the way through versus just on the outside if
Yeah.
we just flavored the outside.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that looks good. And now we're gonna actually season this. So we're just gonna get some more oil.
And here we've got little roasting pans here for you,
Yeah.
Kinza.
Yeah.
There we go for you to put your croutons on
Thank
before
you.
moving them to the oven.
Yeah. So just add a bit more oil on top for more crispy flavor, obviously. And just a bit of fresh cracked salt. My hands are oiled from the bread. really get it on there so it has a lot of flavor. And then we're gonna add some pepper,
I may want to wipe this down.
just like that.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If people at home can't find sourdough for their brie dip, what other breads can they use?
Well, sourdough, I really like it for this recipe because, like the name, it's called sourdough. So it adds a nice tang because of the bacteria inside. And I think that goes really well with the kind of a little bit sweeter brie. So it adds all of those different flavors in. But if you don't have access to sourdough, you can totally use any bread. But the whole point of this is that you have the round bowl shape. So you want to make sure you have bread that's kind of in that round shape, and you'll be able to get that bowl. Okay.
And Noah, just before you go on, I don't know if we said, what did we put our oven at here?
So we have it set at 350 degrees, and we're gonna let it cook for 10 minutes. And all we need to do is let the cheese melt, because we're gonna end up putting it back in once everything is ready and combined.
And so you might want to keep an eye on it then, right?
Yeah.
For people at home, because their ovens might be warmer or cooler than
Yeah.
this one.
So it's all you really need to do. You don't have to have a set time. Just look for it to make sure that the cheese is actually melted.
So you're looking for melted cheese in a
Melted
crispy
cheese.
bowl.
Yeah.
A nice toasted bowl.
Toasted bowl, because we're gonna be mixing in more cheese and more of that cranberry sauce and all those nice toppings, and then we'll put it back in. It'll be delicious.
Speaking of cranberry sauce, once you're done there, do you want to come check it
Yeah,
out?
totally.
We had a little bit of overboil action, but
I think that.
it's cleaned up.
Let
We
me-
just need to let it cool a little bit, I think.
Yeah,
Or should
it's really thin right now, but it'll get a lot cooler it'll get a lot thicker once it cools.
would you like me to crush it more, though?
I think that could.
'Cause
Yeah,
there's
that could help it out.
Okay, I'll crush it a little
Yeah,
bit more.
because you don't need cornstarch for this at all, because cornstarch will make it more like jelly or jam, and we want it to be like a sauce, like kind
Right.
of liquidy, and it'll be a lot better if it's a little bit more runny. So now we can actually go ahead and put our skewers in the oven. So we'll just put it in like that, and yeah, we'll set it to 350 degrees.
So 350 for this as well?
Yep.
Do you want me to boil it down a little bit more, Noah? Do you want me to boil it down, or should I take it off and just let it cool?
I think you can maybe, if you turn down the heat, it'll be good. Let it simmer and just cook out a little bit more
We'll
and
put
get
it-
more of the flavor out.
We'll put it
Yeah.
on low.
That looks perfect.
Noah, how long do we put these in
So
for?
these ones, all you need to do is let them go for about 12 to 15 minutes until they're crispy. And like this one, just keep an eye on it because of the ranging temperatures in ovens. You want to make sure that that cheese is melted and that is crispy and golden
So
brown.
crispy. And you can already see our cheese is
Yeah,
starting to melt.
it's already
there.
melting.
So it's coming along. It's
Ooh.
already starting to melt.
Yeah.
Wow.
So. and
I'm
that's that.
excited.
So that's our appetizer. So we're just gonna let this cook. We're gonna let those finish toasting.
Mm-hmm.
And while that's happening, we're actually gonna move over to Audrey now, who's gonna do our main course.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be making a turkey burger with a cranberry compote, as we have there, with caramelized onion and Monterey Jack cheese to contrast with the sweet. And for our side, we're going to have some sweet potato fries with a honey mustard dipping sauce.
Sounds delicious.
Perfect. Sounds delicious. So what's the first thing we need?
So the first thing that we're going to do is actually get the onions chopped and the sweet potatoes chopped. So I'm going to entrust, once Kinza is all done there, I'm going to entrust her with the onion duty. For the caramelized onions, you actually don't want to have it on high and just get them done with. You want to keep them low and slow. That's why we're starting with them, because we don't want them to cook. We want them to caramelize.
So Audrey, how do you want your sweet potatoes cut?
So I want them cut about a quarter of an inch thick, not too thick and not too thin. If too thin, they'll burn and get unedible,
Yeah.
inedible. And if they're too thick, then they're going to not cook at all and be really, really just
Yeah.
soggy and not good.
Do we need to peel the sweet
Yeah,
potatoes?
I was gonna.
Yes, you do need to
Okay.
peel the sweet potatoes. So
Oh,
I will
let's
grab
see.
Those
the
onions.
peeler.
Here you
I
are.
cut the top off for you. So
thank
get you
you.
started now.
Thank you.
There we go.
Let's do this. So when you're chopping an onion, first start by peeling the skin. A trick I have when chopping or slicing onions is to slice it in half first and then just give it a little quick rinse. I find that helps with the crying situation. But first let's start off by always leave this bit on. Gonna just cut it in half. So Audrey, do we want these chopped or sliced?
We want them sliced because sliced will have a little bit more texture, and it will also provide a little bit more stability in the burger, because if chopped, like diced, or
Yeah.
they're gonna just fall off the burger, but
Sure.
slices will stay on there a little bit better.
So we're gonna start by holding our knife with our thumb on one side and our pointer finger on the other, like this. And we're just going to put the tip in
I grab my
first
spices
and
quickly?
cut down. So continue to do that with your onion.
It's really good to hear tips like this, Kenz. I think it's really helpful to people at home. Maybe this is your first time cooking at home, so they
Yeah.
might be learning a lot.
I think because lots of people may not know exactly how to do it, and they might end up hurting themselves for doing it. So it's definitely important to have an adult, if you're cutting something, especially like sweet potatoes, they're really tough to cut. So I think it's really useful if you haven't had much experience to have a parent or a guardian with you to help.
Yes.
For sure.
Be careful. Sweet potatoes, I like to say, are like bricks.
Yeah.
And they're quite hard to cut through, so be careful. And if you are using a large knife like Noah, again, have parent supervision, because we do not want fingers being lost.
Yeah. That would be preferred.
And just Audrey, because you're standing here, what do you think of this bread bowl here? Is that kind of cooked along?
I'm going to have to ask Noah. because
Yeah,
it's
we might need
his
you to check
dish.
on
Yeah.
that, because it's looking pretty.
looks-
looking
yeah.
really good.
I think that honestly might even be ready to take out.
Yeah, so we can take that out now.
Yeah,
So let's turn
oh.
our oven off here.
Yeah, we'll take it off.
We want to make sure to grab our oven mitts. Very, very important to grab your
Yes.
oven mitts when you're taking anything out.
Especially with an oven like this hot. So
Yeah,
we'll take it out.
And if your other oven mitts too are better, the silicone
Yeah.
ones, you can definitely use those.
I
Okay.
feel the tears coming.
Oh no! So I'll let you in on a secret, Kinza. I never cry when I chop onions, but that's because I wear contact lenses, and I've heard that that stops you from
Oh,
crying.
that would be good. Yeah.
So I've heard that when chopping an onion, what actually makes you cry is the smell. So if you have smells in the kitchen like the cranberry sauce or the brie bowl, that will hopefully help.
So I'm gonna be working on my bread bowl now since that's out of the oven.
Yes.
So I've taken the cranberry sauce directly off the heat because we want it to cool a bit before we combine it, just because we want it to be a little bit thick, but not super runny. So just like the perfect in between. So I'll let that cool down. And while we have this, I'm gonna go ahead and grate some cheese because I'm gonna add that into it.
So Audrey, I've got the onions all sliced.
Perfect.
What's next?
So we're actually going to start the onions. We're just going to grab just a normal pan,
Okay.
and we're going to put in some olive oil, a little bit of butter, and just let them go low and slow. And then eventually, once they've become translucent, we're going to put in a little bit of sugar because that's going to help them caramelize.
Around what temperature should we have our pan at?
Probably medium low. We don't want them to have a high temperature. So our induction says 320. So I'd put it around 320, 300-ish.
So now I've got some of my,
Yeah, so for
Which
our
one
brie
are we-
bowl here, we're finishing
Yeah.
this up.
so I'll just add in my cheese.
What kind
'cause
of cheese is it?
It's white cheddar. It's really strong, but I think that helps contrast with the more sweet brie. So I think it really helps bring out a lot of the flavor. So I'll just add it in there, and while the brie is still melted, which is exactly what we need it to do, I'll add more of this cranberry sauce. I'll get a spoon over here.
Yes,
Excuse me.
No problem.
Thank you.
And I'm just cutting up some garlic to go into the turkey burger right now.
And is there a special word that you use for the way that you're chopping up garlic? Is it called julienne? Is it called something else?
It's called mincing. So it's essentially like a very, very fine dice. I'll show you what it looks like after I'm done. You don't want to have very large clumps of garlic because biting into a piece of garlic is not the nicest thing ever. It's
Definitely
not nice
not.
for your breath.
So yeah, I'm just gonna mix this in here while it's still melted. It got a little bit cool. Once it cooled, it got a little bit thick, but it'll be perfectly fine because we're gonna be putting it back in the oven anyways.
Yeah, so we've got a lot going on here today, but ideally you would just be focusing on this and you would get everything in there really
Yeah,
quickly so
for
that the
sure.
cheese didn't solidify.
Yeah,
If your cheese does solidify though, can you just put it back in the oven to warm
For
it back
sure.
up?
You can, even if you, once this is all done, if you start to eat
Looks
it
great,
and then
Kinza.
you have to go somewhere,
Smells
you can
great.
totally reheat it and then eat it again. It's good for as long as you want it.
Perfect.
So I'm just gonna add my minced garlic into there. That's what minced looks like if you can get a close-up of that. It kind of is just a very fine dice, as I said before. So I'm just gonna add that into our turkey. And then I'm gonna come over here and snatch some more ingredients from Noah.
That's right, we're sharing everything.
Yes.
We're working
course.
together.
And I'm gonna crack one egg into here. The egg is gonna be the binder for our turkey burger. Since turkey is a very lean meat, we're gonna need something to hold it together because it won't have that fat content too. And speaking of turkey, I do know that people are plant-based or they may not like turkey, or you can use any different type of meat you want. You can use chicken, you can use beef if you even wanted to. I'm just using turkey because like fall flavors, you think of Thanksgiving and you think of turkey on Thanksgiving.
And so I have a question for you, Audrey. I think that the egg that you put in there is not from the fridge, correct? Has it been sitting out for a while?
No, I just put it out like a few minutes.
But it's room temperature. That's what I'm asking
yeah.
you.
Oh,
So
yeah.
sorry, yeah. So you want your egg to come up to room temperature, is that correct?
Yes.
For your turkey burger? Yes. Not to leave it out for like 4 hours, anything like that, but just to bring it up to room temperature.
So that when we cook it in the pan, it doesn't like shock the egg and like starts to, if there's like clump of eggs, like a clump of egg.
So it's just, okay, so you bring it up to room temperature for the cooking process.
I
Yeah.
think I heard the croutons.
Oh.
They look quite nice to me.
All right, I'll let Noah have a
Wow.
look at that because that is his recipe.
Oh, that's perfect. So,
Wanna
if you can take that out, that'd be great.
And here,
Sure.
Kinsey, you can put it right on your cutting board too.
Yeah. That's
Lovely.
exactly what we need.
Here,
So
Kinsey,
now-
yeah, put it on your cutting board just because it's really hot.
Yeah.
So everything looks good, and yeah, that's about it for my recipe. I just actually put in the bread bowl for another 10 minutes until everything is combined, and then we'll top it up, and then that's it.
So,
Also-
Audrey, what do you have there?
We have some Worcestershire. I don't even know how to
Worcestershire.
say it.
Could
So
anyone say that word just out of curiosity?
Worcestershire.
I can't say it.
I think
either.
it's
Worcestershire. I don't know.
Worcestershire.
I think it's like Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
I don't know.
Something like
It's a
that.
tongue twister. If you
Yeah.
can figure that out, please let us know.
Yeah, tweet us if you can figure out how to say it properly. Tweet us at Skills Ontario. It's definitely not a word that we can say here.
Worcestershire. So we're gonna go in with a tablespoon of this. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it. I'm just gonna kind of eye it, just because each different. If you're making like more burgers or less burgers, you're gonna have to adjust your recipe. I know that also people like say more pepper in their burgers, less pepper in their burgers, or more salt or whatever. You just adjust it to how you want. But the Worcestershire is gonna help bring out the flavor of the meat. It's kind of like a meat enhancer.
So Audrey, would
Yep.
you say this is a good size, or do you want it a bit longer, thicker?
I think that's a perfect size.
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep it.
And here, no, I'll get you a tray actually that we can cook our sweet potato fries
Oh,
on.
perfect.
And we want the potatoes to be the exact same size
Yeah.
and thickness, because if one's bigger and one's smaller, they're gonna burn and then not cook. So try to keep them as same and uniform as you possibly
Yeah.
can.
For sure.
So now I'm just gonna go in with some salt and pepper, the basics, the best. I have to open my salt. So we're just gonna go in with it again, an eyeball amount. Just season it to your liking. A trick, if you don't know if it's under seasoned or over seasoned, is to just take a tiny bit of patty before you cook the big ones, and just put a little bit in the pan and cook it, and then try it to see if you want something more or something. Well, you can't really take less.
Yeah.
So
That's a good tip. So you're cooking just a tiny, almost like even smaller than a slider size,
oh, not even, just like a coin
quarter
size.
quarter size almost, just to test it to see if you like it.
Yeah, if you want to add anything, if you think something's missing, just something like that.
Noah, I have to say, these croutons beat the smell of the onions.
Oh, wow. That's surprising because onions are really
And so-
pungent.
And Kinsey, you're caramelizing our onions, right? So that means we're
Yes.
just cooking them really, really low and slow.
Of course, yes. So when you caramelize your onions, you just want to cook them very low, on a low, like medium low heat, like Audrey said, and slow. Don't let them spread out so that they can sweat and they have just
Right.
time.
So you don't want a crowded pan.
No.
And now, Kinzer, if you want, you see how they're kind of getting translucent? If you
Yeah.
add like a teaspoon of sugar, that's going to really help the caramelized process. So I have my meat done for my patties. So once the sweet potatoes go in, they're going to go in for about 15 minutes. So in that time, I'm going to cook the patties. And I'm going to use a cast iron pan. And a cast iron pan, if you're going to cook them on the grill, you can do that. But I like using cast iron because it gets a really nice crust on them. So I'm just gonna wait for the fries to be done. Noah, would you like me to cut a couple of them?
That would be helpful. Yes. Here you go.
Thank
I already
Also,
feel
while
it.
we're working on this, I'm just really curious. You are all between the ages of 12 and 13, as I learned.
Yes.
What really got you into cooking? Like, what made you be like, I want to learn to cook? Because a lot of people don't start cooking until much
Yeah.
later in life, if at all. So I'm just curious, what really got you first in the kitchen?
Well, for me, my grandparents owned a restaurant, and I always went to it. And when I was like 3, I went to it, and I can actually remember going there, and I remember seeing my grandparents cooking, and I really wanted to be like them. And also, my mom really influenced, because seeing her cook all the time, it really
Yeah.
made me want to help and get in the kitchen.
So your mom's a good cook, then,
yeah,
I'm guessing.
really good cook. But yeah.
My inspiration was actually my family too. I always grew up with my family being in the kitchen. We were always kind of like the host family of like Christmas parties or whatever. And I would always see my dad and my mom in there cooking, and I would always want to jump in and help. So, and my Nana too, she was also a big
Oh,
cook, and we would go over to her house every Christmas. And we would
Oh.
help her cook for Christmas dinner. So, yeah, my family pretty much. What about you?
For me, I used to go to my grandma's house as well, and she would have pots and pans out for me to, like make music with. But I would never want to do that. I would want to actually cook with them. And I would see my mom and my grandparents cook quite a bit. I used to just always think, oh, I want to do that too. Like, how do they cook so good? And then I guess it's just the fact that I see cooking as an art. And it's really like expression, and it brings so many people together. So that's what I really loved about it. And I was like, okay, I want to learn more. And
Yeah, that's really great. And you're right. Like, a lot of people do say that the kitchen is the heart of your house. So, because that's where you gather, you get together, you make memories.
I'm just gonna take your sweet potato fries, Noah.
Yeah.
And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna grab some olive oil. And I'm just gonna season up our fries. So we're just gonna go in with a tablespoon of olive oil approximately. Depends on how big your sweet potatoes are. The bigger, you're gonna get more fries out of them. So again, just eyeball. Cooking is a kind of an eyeball thing to me.
Absolutely. You're cooking with your heart.
And then we're just gonna go on with the basics again, salt and pepper. You wanna kind of salt them a lot because that will also help draw out the moisture of the potatoes and help them get a little bit crispier. Same with the onions, that'll also help them. But we're gonna season it towards the end. And
So-
then we're just gonna go in with some garlic powder. I love garlic powder.
And while you're doing that, I actually took my bread bowl out of the oven because it's perfectly crispy, and the cheese developed a really nice crust on the top. So I personally love that. But if you don't, you can cook it a bit less.
Yeah, you just want to keep an eye on it. Exactly
sure.
that. Look for the Dennis that you're
Yeah.
looking for.
I'm
So
just gonna sneak back
I'll
here.
just go ahead and
Yeah,
plate
I'll
it.
move over here.
And it actually did ooze out a bit, but that's perfectly fine because it's not meant to be a clean thing to eat.
We're going to eat it anyways.
Yeah. So I'll just get.
I think we can probably use this to
Yeah.
lift it.
Yeah.
I'll let you do. I'll let you do
Thank
the honors.
you.
I don't want to ruin anything.
Okay.
So in my fries, we just have salt, pepper, paprika, garlic powder,
okay.
olive oil, and I think that's pretty much it. Just kind of like the basic nice seasonings. And we're just gonna mix those with our hands.
Nice.
You wanna make sure that every single fry has some seasoning on them. So like
take that,
one
yeah.
fry's not under seasoned and one's not over seasoned.
Yeah.
Those are looking great, Kinza. Thank you.
So now I'm just finishing up plating everything, and there you go.
So that's our fall-themed appetizer all finished.
Oh, actually, that's wrong. That's sorry.
Oh, sorry. I got
that's my
ahead
fault.
of myself.
I forgot. We actually have some toppings to top it off with.
Oh.
So I just have a bit of honey, just add a bit more sweetness with the cranberry sauce.
Oh.
So you can just drizzle that all over the top. It'll start to melt because it's already kind of thick right now, but it'll get really thin when it's poured over. And we're just gonna finish it off with some more rosemary, of course, fresh rosemary. And by the way, I think
Wrong oven.
if you're ever wondering whether or not fresh herbs are better than dry herbs, I would definitely recommend fresh herbs because whenever they're dried, they always get the flavor kind of taken out
Yeah,
of
you can
them.
cook in
So
those
I think with fresh herbs, they have all the oils and just so much more flavor. So most of the time, I would definitely use that. But for in some cases, I use dried oregano a lot.
Okay.
So it really depends on what you have available to you. If you don't have fresh herbs that you can just get whenever you want, dried herbs are definitely perfect for that too.
Great.
So I just preheated my oven for the fries at 350 degrees. I'm just gonna let that go. And I'm actually using an air fryer. You can use an oven bake if you only have an oven, or you can even deep fry them / shallow fry them in a pan. So I think someone's thing just ended.
That was mine. I forgot to turn the timer off. That's okay.
So I'm just gonna spread the fries evenly out on this air fry tray. And I'm just gonna pop them in there for about 15 minutes. I'm gonna check at 8 minutes though to see how crispy they are. And if they are done, then I'm just gonna take them out. So I'm gonna bring it over here. So I'm just gonna close that up, and I'm gonna set my timer for about 10 minutes, and I'll check back on those when they're done. And in the meantime, the onions are going, everything's in. We're gonna actually start with our turkey patty now. I'm just
So,
gonna-
Audrey, before you start
Yep.
the turkey patty, to the people at home, when do you think, like, what's a sign that the onions are done or ready?
So when the onions are done or ready, they should be kind of brown and caramelized. I'm gonna turn that down a little bit so that they can go a little bit longer. And they should be really soft, not squishy. We don't want them like demolished. And
Okay. Yeah, you don't want them to fall apart while
Yeah.
you're eating them.
so these are almost done, like very close. They just need a little bit more time in the pan. So I'll check back on those in a little bit.
Is there anything you need me to do? Because I'm free.
I actually do have something for you to do. We have our honey mustard dipping sauce
Oh,
for
yeah.
our fries. I should probably wipe my hands off though.
Yeah, there's.
They're
Yeah.
a little bit seasoned.
Okay.
So you're gonna grab the honey, you're gonna grab the Dijon mustard, and you're gonna grab the mayonnaise, and you're gonna grab the vinegar.
Okay. Then
And you're gonna be putting in same measurements, 1/4 of a cup for all the things except for the vinegar. You're gonna add a tablespoon.
okay.
So I'm going to grab our little burger patties.
And do we have a measuring cup? Well,
Yeah, there's one over there.
You've got one? Perfect.
And I'm gonna just take about a handful amount. Just gonna roll my hands, roll it into a little ball. I'm just gonna press it down a little bit. You wanna remember that your burger patty will shrink as it cooks. So flatten it out more than getting it thick. So
use this.
just like that. And we're gonna try to attempt to make 4 so that we can all have one.
Yeah.
So we have about a pound of meat in there. So a pound of meat should make roughly 4 burgers.
Roughly. If you are making more than 4, probably do 2 pounds, double the recipe. But there seems to be only 4 people here, so.
Yes, there's only 4 of us here, so I think 4 burgers will be
Oh,
plenty.
yeah.
I can't wait. The smells in this kitchen.
Yeah.
Love
So
it.
amazing.
Yeah, it definitely smells like fall in here
Oh,
between
yeah.
the cranberries.
The cranberries.
And our sweet potato
everything.
fries are cooking. We've got onions caramelizing. We've got a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Like a lot going on.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so, oh, that one kind of died. It's okay. So I can tell that this one needs a little bit more patty meat. and I'll take a little bit from the other one. Press it down, shape it. Okay, so we have all of our burger patties made. So I'm going to wash my hands.
Yeah, so I'll have to excuse you while you go wash
I'm
your
gonna go
hands.
excuse myself quickly, because you don't want to cross-contaminate.
Yeah, no, definitely not
No.
cross-contaminate. So we'll let you go wash your hands.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to remind everyone at home who is watching that you do have a chance to win some prizes by cooking along with us today. So take a picture of yourself cooking, tweet it, or Instagram us at Skills Ontario and use the hashtag Skills Ontario Skills Cooking Show, and you'll be entered to win some prizes. We've got some fabulous prizes, so make sure you're tweeting at us. Make sure you're taking a ton of pictures. We definitely want to see those.
Definitely.
So, and I think just to remind everyone too, we're doing a quarter cup of everything
Yeah,
for the
so
dipping
it's quarter
sauce.
cup of Dijon, quarter cup of honey, and a quarter cup of mayonnaise. And then we're just gonna add a tablespoon of vinegar. So it'll be pretty acidic, but it'll be perfect with the burgers and the fries for sure.
From what Audrey told us, I think
we go.
the onions are now done.
Perfect.
I'm just going to lower the temperature like
Yeah.
very low. Just let them sit there
We'll get our
so
final.
that they stay warm.
We'll get approval from our
Yeah.
head chef. But yeah, those look really good to me.
Yeah.
And just roughly, how long did it take to caramelize everything?
I'm back and I brought gifts.
That took around, I want to say, 10 minutes, 8
Yeah,
minutes. Yeah.
roughly 10-15 minutes to caramelize
Those are
everything.
perfect, Kenza.
Yay.
So
Wow.
I'm gonna check on our fries. Doing great. So now we're gonna start with our
Crispy.
patties. So if we're gonna move, I think we're gonna move the caramelized onions into a bowl quickly,
Sure.
because we're gonna actually toast our buns inside the onions, like grease almost. That sounded a little bit unappetizing, but onion flavored butter.
Onion oils.
So we're just toasting our buns and we're giving them extra taste as we're doing
Yeah.
it.
Yes. Oh no. So we have 4 buns here. So do you want to take care of that, Kinta?
Sure.
And really, really important, Audrey did wash her hands after handling the raw
Oh,
meat
yeah.
before touching the turkey
Yes.
buns.
Yeah.
Really, really important.
So I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna steal the spatula
Oh.
right here. And I'm just gonna wipe it.
Here.
Do we have
can
our
wipe it
cloth
with
somewhere?
this.
There we go. Just gonna wipe it off. Doesn't really matter. It was used for the cranberry sauce and it's gonna go on top of them anyways. So
Do
I'm
you
gonna turn the
sorry.
pan on to a pretty high heat and we're just gonna let it go until it actually starts smoking. That's how we know that the pan is really hot and it will give us a really nice crust. So if you can hold your hand over the top of the pan and it like starts to hurt, that means you know that it's ready.
You definitely don't want to hurt yourself.
No.
Don't hurt
Definitely
yourself,
not.
though. Don't hurt.
If you start to feel the
Like
heat,
the heat coming up.
So, Audrey, do we need to add oil for it to cook properly, or can we
It's just kind of like a safety thing, so that your burger doesn't stick to the pan. But cast irons are usually pre-seasoned. Seasoned means oiled, so it should be okay. We really don't want to overcrowd our pan.
Yeah.
Because that will create up lots of like water, humidity, and the burgers will steam and not actually cook. So it won't get a really nice crust on them. So we're just gonna do 2 at a time. I hope you guys can be patient.
So, Audrey, I have a question for you. We know that with beef, you can cook it to medium rare, but what kind of temperature do you want on a turkey burger?
Well, I think everyone knows that poultry can usually carry salmonella. So you really do not want to ever eat chicken or turkey raw. So we're gonna go for fully cooked in the middle, but we're not gonna like cook it too much where it becomes dry and is really like not
Right.
very yummy. So as soon as it's done, I don't know the exact internal temperature. I do it by touch actually, by my hand. So I do it by, this is rare for beef. So about the same kind of touch for rare as chicken, so not done. This is medium rare, so kind of getting there. And then over here, near your pinky, that's well done. So I do that, and so I can test to see how cooked it is. Or I have a thermometer over there, so if I want to do that, I can just check it through that way.
That's a cool trick.
So
I'm going to stir our sweet potato fries quickly.
yeah,
I'm just
that's
going to bump this up.
We always want to remember our oven mitts.
yes.
Don't want to burn ourselves.
So this is what they look like right now. So we're just gonna stir them up so that like the top doesn't burn and the bottom gets undercooked.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna put these back in for about 5-10 more minutes or until they're done.
So, Audrey, our buns are nice and toasted now.
Perfect. Almost ready to assemble.
And
I'm
your
gonna flip
patties
these
look
now.
good. Oh.
Oh, the crust kind of separated, but that's the
That's
same.
okay.
Poultry, again, has less fat than like beef.
Yeah.
As I said before, doesn't have to be turkey, can be any type of meat you want.
So while we're waiting, I guess, Kinza, maybe you can talk to us a little bit about your
Yeah.
dessert, what you're going to be making for us.
Sure. So today, for dessert, we are going to be having and making a cinnamon apple cobbler with a side of homemade vanilla ice cream. Although, a disclaimer, you probably want to make the ice cream a little bit ahead of time before you make the actual cobbler, because it does need to sit and rest for minimum 5 hours.
Yeah.
So,
And there was something else, too, we had to do to prepare for your recipe. We're actually going to be making the ice cream. We're setting it in a bread pan.
Yes.
A bread loaf pan. So we actually placed that in the freezer
yeah.
Yeah.
much earlier today, too.
So with your bread loaf pan, you want to put it in the freezer, get your ice cream batter or made, and then you put your ice cream in the freezed pan and put it back in the freezer for overnight, preferably, or 5 hours
Yeah.
at least.
And this one
need
isn't.
another cutting.
This recipe
I
for
may.
ice cream isn't like a regular ice cream, right? So it's like non-churn.
It's a no churn.
No
yes.
churn, right?
And the cool thing about this ice cream recipe is that you can change the flavor. If you don't want vanilla and you want chocolate, just add a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder or crushed Oreos or really anything.
Yeah.
Maybe even some fruit purees
Or even just
chopped
cranberry
up
sauce.
fruit. Maybe the cranberry
Cranberry ice
sauce
cream, that would
if
be-
cranberry ice cream is your jam. But yeah.
So for our full meal here, we're having a baked brie bowl or a brie bread bowl.
Brie bread bowl. It's a tongue
Then
twister.
we're having turkey burgers with sweet potato fries and a
honey mustard.
honey mustard dip.
Uh-huh.
And then we're finishing with apple cobbler with vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
So we have a real like full fall meal here right now. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how we could make it more
It's
fall.
like
Yeah.
So all of
Okay.
our burgers are done.
Okay.
Perfect. So I will distribute you your turkey patty. There you go, Noah.
Thank you. Wow.
So we're gonna start with the turkey patty. Kinza, I will give you this one.
Ooh. Looks
And then I'll
good.
give myself this one. And then we're gonna take our cranberry sauce. Oh, you know what I forgot to put on? The cheese.
Oh.
Oh, we have it. It's down over by Noah.
Yeah,
I
there you
think.
go.
Oh no! The heat of the burger should melt it.
Mhm.
So there we go.
So it won't get to the exact meltedness that you want, but it'll still
It'll
get a
get
little
to the
melted.
melty.
And what kind
If
of
you
cheese
just
are
do
we
it fast.
using?
We're using Monterey Jack to correspond with this sweetness. It's kind
A
of
little
spicy.
bit of spicy.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go with our cranberry sauce.
There you go.
So as you can see, it kind of gotten a lot thicker
Yeah.
as
Here,
the
Kinza, we'll
time's
just move
gone
you here.
on. So we're just gonna do a little spoonful of cranberry sauce.
And there's still a little bit of. It's still a little bit runny, but it's perfectly fine because
Just
it
pour
doesn't
on
need
top.
to be perfectly clean.
And then we're gonna go over here. Do you want to put it on, or do you want me to?
You can.
We're gonna pour that on
Ooh,
there.
That looks good.
And then we're gonna come over here. We're gonna put this on here, and then we're gonna go in with the best part, personally, my favorite, the caramelized onions.
Oh.
Yay.
And we're just gonna do just
Like a tablespoon, probably.
maybe a little bit more.
So it's to taste, right? Whatever
Yeah.
you, right? Is that what you're
Whatever
doing?
you.
Even if you don't want onions on there. Again, it's just another flavor thing to correspond with the sweetness of the
Mhm.
cranberry sauce. So spread that on there.
Yeah.
I kind of just took over your guys' burger making experience.
It's okay. It's your dish. It's what
I'm
you're
gonna
supposed to
grab
do.
some for you.
Yay.
Spread them out.
That looks good.
Okay.
So let's come into maybe the middle so people can really see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of some of this stuff
Placing the burger down.
so people can really see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this is going to be beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
And
this is
then
gonna
Noah
look-
and Kinza, if you guys want to bring your
Oh,
burger.
yeah.
And And then we're gonna
Okay.
place that one like that. We're gonna kind of do like burger fries.
Fry burger.
I don't know if we can fit yours, Kinza. Can we? Push it.
We
Push.
can try.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be perfect anyway.
And then we're gonna grab our fries. And we're gonna just lay them around. Again, if you're eating this for dinner, does not have to be this.
Yeah.
Does not have to be fully plated. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, we're getting a little fancy here.
Yeah. Really.
And then we have our dipping sauce on the side. And there's my dish.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't even see what it looks like from the front, so I hope it looks good.
A reminder to everyone at home that you can win some prizes if you're cooking along with us today. Take a picture of yourself cooking or eating and tweet us or Instagram us at Skills Ontario and use the hashtag Skills Cooking Show for a chance to win a fabulous prize. So now that I've done that little plug, we're gonna go back to Kinza and finish our meal, or have the final course, I guess, of our meal with our dessert. So again, what are we making for dessert, Kinza?
So we're going to be having a cinnamon apple cobbler with a side of homemade vanilla ice cream. So who's excited?
Yes.
Of course.
Love ice cream. So just again for the ice cream, a few little kind of tips for those at home. How
Yeah.
long does the ice cream take to set up?
The ice cream takes little to no time, like 5 minutes to actually make the batter, but the longest part is when it needs to set in the freezer. So first you're going to take a loaf pan, a metal preferably, because that helps the ice cream set quicker. Put that in the freezer while you're whipping up your ice cream, which we will just do in a couple seconds. And then you're going to put that ice cream into that frozen loaf pan and put it back in the freezer for minimum 5 hours, preferably overnight.
And I know you might have mentioned this, but we're making vanilla ice cream. If I wanted to make chocolate ice cream, how would I do that?
So you can just take a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder and put it in your mixture. You can do other flavors like 2 tablespoons of Nutella or crushed Oreos, some fruit. So yeah.
I like that suggestion of Nutella. I never would
Yeah.
have thought about Nutella
Yeah.
ever. So that's a really good suggestion. So now that you have your little tips for people who are cooking along with us at home, how to prep for the ice cream, I think we're ready to go. So you've got Noah again, or sorry, Noah on this side and Audrey on this side helping you out again. So I'll let you cook now. I'll let you take the lead here.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, let's start off with our apples because that will take the longest time. We're gonna need 4 apples, 2 Granny Smith, and 2 either Red Gala or Honeycrisp. The reason that we have assorted apples is so that we can get the different textures and flavors. For example, Granny Smith is more firm, and that will give that apple texture you want to be able to feel the apples. And then the Honeycrisp will give you a more sweet, honeyed taste. So, yeah. So let's start off by peeling them, and then I'll have Noah dice them once Audrey is done. But
And do you have to peel the apples? I'm just curious for the
so
cobbler.
I like peeling the apple skin off because then you actually get the juices of the apple and you don't have that like skin stuck in your teeth kind of situation. But it's really up to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna get started on the ice cream. I'll have you actually whip some whipping cream for us. 35%. I'm just gonna
Okay.
steal the cream
No
on this
problemo.
side. About 2.5 cups of
Okay.
this.
2.5.
So with my ice cream, I'm gonna start off with some sweetened condensed milk and some vanilla extract.
Oh yeah.
And I have a question too for you, Kinza. So maybe people don't always buy sweetened condensed milk. Where would you find this in a grocery store? Is this something that you'd find like next to regular milk in the grocery store?
So you would actually find sweetened condensed milk either where you find evaporated milk in the can section or in the baking aisle. So we're gonna just take the whole tin. This tin is 300 milliliters or 14 ounces. So you wanna get every bit of that condensed milk because this is what makes it very good and a nice taste.
How stiff do you want it to be?
I like stiff peaks. This will help keep the ice cream nice and fluffy and have a texture. So stiff peaks. We don't want it too watery or runny.
Okay.
So a regular ice cream, you would need an ice cream maker or to churn the ice cream. But this recipe, you don't really have to worry about that because it's like you're basically making melted ice cream and then freezing it. So
Oh.
now we're gonna take a tablespoon of vanilla extract.
So if you were making, say, chocolate ice cream, would you still put the vanilla extract in
For
there?
sure.
Okay.
Vanilla is like salt in cooking. Like everything that I make, I always make sure to put in vanilla extract. If you're making like chocolate, I would not put as much vanilla though. I'd put maybe half a tablespoon.
So just in case you didn't hear, we're cutting the apples to about 1/4 inch cube.
Just cutting off the core right now.
So this mixture is ready. We're gonna wait for Noah's whipped cream and then we'll put it.
So what is this? Sorry, this is just the condensed milk and the vanilla.
Yeah.
That's it.
So now I'm gonna get started on the crumble for our cobbler. We've got a cup of flour
And this is just regular flour?
all-purpose flour, and a cup of granulated sugar.
And again, just like regular, no fancy sugar here.
Yeah, just regular granulated white sugar. Just give that a little bit of a mix. So, let's see. That looks pretty good. For you people at home, you want to put your mixer in, and you want to see these little like curls at the end. That's perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna have you put the whipped cream in here, and you just want to fold it in slow, like gradually. Don't put all of it in at once. And then you're just gonna take a pinch of fine sea salt and put it in there.
So Noah, when you're folding, do you want to show people how to do that
Yeah.
properly? Because usually people fold their clothes, but they might not be used to folding
Yeah.
what you're folding. So the whipped cream and the condensed milk.
Yeah. So for things like this, or even if you're making tiramisu, when you're making that mixture, you want it to be really fluffy. And anything with something that's whipped, like eggs, meringue, you want to fold it so it doesn't lose all of the height and the volume. So when
Okay.
you're folding,
So when you're folding, you're just kind of being gentle
Yeah.
with it.
I like to go one time around and then one time through. So you're going like, it may take a bit of time, but it
Is it okay if they have
it makes
some
it
rounded,
a
like
bit
the
better
rounded
when
top?
Yeah.
with the volume.
So you're putting in a little bit more time to get a better
Yeah.
end result.
Yeah, because with this, you want it to be as fluffy as possible. And always a little bit at a time. Don't put it all in because you're never going to mix it.
You're not going to get the right texture if
Yeah.
you go all at once. So
And-
nice and slow for this, and we're folding. We're gently folding.
Yeah.
So it's always good to learn something new because, yeah, I don't think I had really ever folded anything in a recipe until I was
So
a little older than you are right now.
I've got 2 eggs here. I'm just beating them in this bowl. And I'm just going to put that into my flour and sugar mixture gradually. And just with my spoon, kind of stir it around.
And
And
you did the
then-
same thing, right, Kinza, with your eggs? You brought them up to room temperature like Audrey did?
Yeah.
And why are we doing that in your recipe? I know for Audrey, she said it was to avoid or to have it cook better. Why did you bring your eggs up to room temperature?
So it really depends on what the rest of the temperature of the rest of your ingredients are. So later in this recipe, we're going to use butter, which is going to be softened. So based on like what my trick is that if I use whipping cream or like milk or something like that in the recipe, do I want it completely cold? So then I'll have my eggs completely cold. If I want it kind of like room temperature, then I'm going to have my eggs room temperature.
So baking is more, or in this recipe, for example, it's more just about having everything kind of exactly that consistent same temperature just to get, again, a
Yeah.
better result at the end, I'm guessing?
Yes. So now I'm going to take this spatula with a hole in it and do the same folding technique that Noah's doing, except this is going to be a little rougher to do. It's not going to become like a complete like batter. It's going to be very thick and it's going to be crumbly. So don't worry about that. Don't add an extra egg or milk or anything or water to make it like a batter. Just keep going. It's going to be slightly like rough, but it's going to take a little time. Just do as best as you can.
And with the butter, would you say, is there a better option between salted and unsalted?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I prefer using like an unsalted butter because then I can control how much salt is going into my recipe.
Yeah.
Because it totally depends brand to brand how much salt is in their salted butter. So let's say we got salted butter from the store and turns out it's way too salty than we want it to be. And then we already added additional salt to our recipe. Then it's going to take away from the sweetness of dessert, right? So I like to use unsalted butter to control the amount of salt in the dish.
Great
So
to learn stuff like that.
how does this look?
That looks great.
Is that like the texture?
Yeah.
So how much of the salt did you want to add?
Just
like
a pinch. Very little, about like 1/8 of a teaspoon.
Okay.
And for those people who are dairy-free or don't take dairy, you can use coconut products for this ice cream. You can use coconut condensed milk, which isn't that easy to find. So if you can't find that, use regular coconut milk and use sugar.
Could you use coconut cream or would that be too thick?
So you could use coconut condensed milk and coconut cream, like this regular recipe. Or what you can use is coconut milk and sugar.
Could you make a coconut ice cream?
You could, if you added like coconut shavings and some coconut milk
Yeah.
to this to add the flavor. So here's what our crumble is like. As you can see, it's not like we can't see any more of the flour, but it's not like a batter. So it's a crumble. Okay, so we're gonna put that to a side. And now we're going to get out our pan. So Noah, you can just pour some of that ice cream into there. Okay. So I'm gonna grab my spices that I'm gonna put in. So yeah, just how Noah is doing, you wanna smooth out the ice cream so that it freezes evenly. And you know that if one side is frozen, the rest of it is frozen. Okay, so Audrey, you can help me with these apples and just kind of toss the apples in these spices.
So there's like brown sugar
Yeah,
and
there's
cinnamon.
a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. There's like about 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And then for some acidity, we're gonna take a tablespoon of lemon juice.
So is this fresh lemon juice or is it?
So it really doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
This is
Fresh.
fresh.
Great.
But you can use from the bottles that you get, and it doesn't matter. But the only reason we have some sort of acidity is so that we can get all those apple juices to come out. So we're gonna heat up our pan. You want it to like medium, low, not too high heat because we want our apples once again to go.
Man down.
We want them to go cook slowly and yeah. So Noah's gone to put the ice cream in the freezer. Now that's gonna take a while to set, but we have some ice cream already made.
Hopefully it's set, hopefully.
Hopefully it's set.
Yeah. It looks set.
Yay!
Woo!
Let's see. Ren moment.
So after 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here,
this
I'll
is
put
what
this
it
over here.
should look like. If your freezer is generally very cold, you want to put like a plastic wrap over it so that you don't get like snow or ice
Yeah,
on
freezer
your
burn.
yeah
You don't want it to be freezer burn.
freezer burn.
Do you want me to put this in the pan?
But
Those
Yeah.
are really good tips to avoid freezer burn. Just a little bit of like plastic wrap
Yeah.
or cling film.
So we've got the apples going in there. Okay, so I'm gonna watch over these apples.
Seems to be very hot. Do you want me to turn it down, or is that good?
Yeah, our
that's
inductions heat up really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got like around 280
That already
degrees
smells. You
Fahrenheit.
can already smell the apples and the
Oh my
cinnamon
God.
right away as soon as it hit the pan.
Okay, so let's take a look at this ice cream.
Okay.
So this ice cream, I just tested with this spoon. It's a little bit on the softer
But I
side,
think-
kind of like soft serve.
Yeah.
But I recommend that you have it like in the freezer for longer.
Yeah. I think
But this
Overnight.
should be good for its
Yeah.
purpose today. Now back to these apples. So the juices are basically like you want to keep that in there. You don't want to put that in your cobbler when you're actually assembling it, but you want to keep that at the end so you can kind of just drizzle it on top. Oh, it smells so good.
It smells really, really good.
It smells like apple pie. Oh, yeah. Speaking of apples itself, I feel like apple really goes well with cinnamon and nutmeg and those kind of spices. So I really love apple cobbler as it is. But you can do peach cobblers. That's very common. You can use apricot, berries. So it's really up to you. You can try it out, test it out.
Yeah.
Let us know how it turns out if you try any other fruit. But yeah. Okay, so it looks like our apples are
Yeah, that,
done. Okay, so now my favorite part is assembling the actual apple cobbler. So we're gonna start by just taking some of these apples. So just take like about a tablespoon. Look at that. It's like the juices, they're like syrupy, so good. Okay, so you want like a tablespoon.
tablespoon?
Yeah,
Like that.
like you want to just fill up the bottom.
Yeah. So like, it's like layered like a tray full.
Yeah.
Like a mini tray.
And then
You can go ahead.
yeah, we're gonna take our crumble. I'd say just you want to fill up your ramekin. So just kind of flatten it.
Like you want to make sure it's completely covered.
Yeah, completely. Because then this crumble, when it bakes, it's also gonna go underneath and kind of shelter the apples. Yeah. And then we're gonna take like, we can even just do a sprinkle of cinnamon
Mhm.
over the top. Cinnamon's nice. Okay, and then we're gonna finally take like as thin as possible a slice of your softened unsalted butter, and you're just gonna like plop it in your ramekin.
I'm gonna steal the knife.
So it gives kind of like a glaze.
Yeah.
Like that much?
Yeah. You don't need too much, really.
There we go.
Okay. And
Thank
now Noah can finish his. And we've got the oven preheated to 350 degrees. And we're going to grab a tray. Just place your ramekin in there. So we're going to put it in this oven for 100,
I'm just kind of push
so
it out of
at
the way. here.
350 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 to 35 minutes, maybe even a little bit more, until it's like crisp and it's clean with a fork when
Yeah.
you put a fork in it. In a regular oven. In this, it'll probably take a little less time. I'm gonna keep it for like 15 minutes and then check halfway.
All right, well, it sounds like your cobbler's almost done.
Yeah.
I think we're
Almost done.
getting there, so we're
I
close.
think so.
So to pull that out, we're gonna have your oven mitt on because it's gonna be very, very hot. Then we're gonna plate up our dessert, and that'll be kind of the end of our fall themed meal
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I'll get you a wooden cutting board to place it.
Oh, it's done. So it's nicely browned. If you see this little bit of black spots, don't worry, it's not burnt. It's the cinnamon from the top. So let's get this out. So let's bring this plate. We got, ooh, I can hear that sizzle. Can you?
Hey, that's not cinnamon.
Wow.
Ooh.
Oh.
So we got some spilling there.
And it's okay if
That's
it's
because
messy.
it didn't completely cool. We've got some apples still in there.
But even if it's messy, it's
Yeah.
as long as it tastes good, I think it'll be.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that sounds.
So for plating, we're gonna reuse the cranberry sauce.
So again, we're taking the cranberry sauce that we made at the beginning of our meal with Audrey.
And we're just gonna take a little bit on the back of your spoon and just, you wanna kinda just splash it across. Beautiful, nice design.
So this is if you want to impress someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Impress your family, impress your friends.
Impress yourself.
Impress yourself, most importantly. Then we're gonna take our ice cream, which has been in the freezer for quite a while,
Yeah.
and just,
And it's already a lot firmer.
yeah, take a scoop, place it there. Okay, and then we're gonna take a little bit of our syrup from the apples and just kind of spread it around there. And last but not least, we're gonna take some cinnamon
You can even add, even a bit more.
So
of
if
the
you have
syrup.
cinnamon,
If
would
you have
like-
cinnamon,
Yeah, if you have cinnamon, you can add a little bit more to the top.
But yeah, there's already,
there's already lots
some,
of
so
cinnamon,
you'll
so
have the
just
flavor.
put the syrup, and there you have it. It's
Oh.
a beautiful plate of apple cobbler. So
and some vanilla ice cream.
yeah.
So now that our fall themed meal is complete, I think the best part of any meal is to try it. So let's try some of the things we've made today. Let's all
Yes.
try some of this.
I'm gonna go
bread
in
bowl.
for a crouton quickly.
Ooh,
No, do you want a
Noah,
crouton?
this looks
Yeah.
so
No,
No,
good.
this looks really good.
Thank you.
So the
Oh
baked
my
brie
gosh,
here.
that's amazing. Wow.
I really like the sourdough, Noah. That's
Aw,
really,
thank
really
you.
good.
Trying to get a little bit of everything in there.
That's good. And Audrey, I'm gonna still want your sweet potato fries here too.
Oh
because
yeah,
they look
I've
great.
been eyeing these the whole time.
Oh, the fries are really
Amazing.
Thank you.
good. Really yummy.
Perfect.
I was gonna try a bite of the cobbler
Mhm.
because I think you have to do the honors since you made it.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoa. Let's get some of that middle piece.
Mm.
Whoa. And of course the ice cream as well. Mmm. It's really good.
It's really, really nice. I think this is like the perfect fall theme meal with the turkey, the cranberry. So I just want to say thank you again to our junior chefs that joined us today. I want to say thank you to everyone at home that watched. Don't forget, if you are interested in Skills Ontario, there is a ton of stuff on our website, which is skillsontario.com. And just again, a huge thank you for joining us today at our Skills Ontario Family Cooking Show. And don't forget, if you want to win a prize, to tag us on social media at Skills Ontario, either on Twitter or on Instagram, and use the hashtag #SkillsCookingShow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.